I want you to think about the last 7 days. Genuinely think about it. How many meals were tracked properly? How many training sessions did you complete? How many nights did you get 7 or 8 hours sleep? How much water did you drink? Because most people, when they honestly sit and audit their week, realize that there's either tons of data missing or their effort is just poor, plain and simple. And then they genuinely wonder why they're getting piss poor results. You can't half-ass a process and then expect results. So today we're gonna get to the bottom of your effort levels and learning how to raise those standards and get the results that you want. And this is coming from someone who has coached over 600 people, taken nearly 100 people to photo shoot condition and the bodybuilding stage. So it's fair to say I know what I'm talking about. So let's get stuck in. Sit down with a pen and paper and actually have a solid audit of the last 7 days. Do you know what you actually ate? Do you know how many calories? Do you know how much protein you ate? Do you know how much water you drank? What did you do in the gym? How much did you lift? How many sets did you do per body part? If all of these things are alien to you and you're like, well, I showed up and did them, it's not good enough. So start taking stock of these things properly. Whether you put pen to paper, whether you get your iPhone notes, or whether you use apps to do this, start tracking data. For me, I like to keep this simple. I use my FitnessPal to track my food. I use the health app on my iPhone to track my daily weight. I'm super old school with this, and I've got a notes in my iPhone that I literally keep my measurements that I can go all the way back to 2018 with. I take my chest, I take my waist, I take my arms, I take my legs, so I can track that progress over years, not just months and weeks, years. Now, something that's important here is we need to think about the gap that comes between your perceived level of effort and what's actually required, because these are often vastly different. And people will genuinely convince themselves that they're doing more than they are. And this is why it's extremely important here to be honest with yourself. A massive part of what I do for a living and helping people improve their physique is trying to improve people's standards over time, because I cannot tell you the amount of times I've had someone in their first couple of check-ins tell me that they're struggling with 10,000 steps a day. They're struggling with their protein target, as an example. And you fast forward 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and those same clients are smashing out 12, 15,000 steps, and their protein targets are easy. And the ironic thing is, when they first started, they were putting in that much effort, but what they didn't realize is that was their previous 100% effort. And what we're trying to do is actually increase that to the actual effort required to move the needle. That one's important, because if you're not honest with that one, you're gonna start to feel hard done by. If you're putting in 100% effort and things aren't moving, then maybe it's not 100%. Maybe there's things you need to improve on. And unless you're totally honest with the data, you're never gonna know. And another important one here is to stop comparing yourself to your previous self or to what your friends are doing. I hate to break it to you, but average standards are pretty piss poor. If we actually pull up average statistics in the UK where I live, when it comes to BMI, for example, it's pretty bad. To average diets, as an example, it's pretty bad. To how strong the average person is, these stats are bad. These are not good. And so comparing yourself to that is no good. You need to be able to separate yourself and create your own standards. And also forget about your previous standards. The amount of times I've had clients report back in a check-in and say something along the lines of, well, I wasn't too bad at the weekend. I wasn't as bad as I used to be. But how bad did you used to be? If that was absolutely horrific, then that's still a pretty poor standard to compare yourself to. So start to delete comparing yourself to anyone other than yourself and your current standards, and looking at those as something to improve on. Now let's talk about what's probably the most important word in this game, and that is consistency. Because most people can do things for a day, some people can do things for 2 or 3 days, but trying to do that same thing for 50 or 60 or 70 or 100 days, that's a whole different story. Especially when you've got obstacles and hurdles to get in the way, like weekends and birthdays and holidays and all these things that, generally speaking, throw people completely off track. And I find most people are still looking for magic tricks. They still get shiny object syndrome. They're still looking for the next diet. They're still looking for the next hack, as opposed to just showing up and doing the boring stuff over and over and over and over and over again. Consistency beats all in this game. You need to be okay with showing up every day and just ticking those boxes. So what does genuine effort look like on a daily basis? Well, it's being able to take where you were at and increase from this. So when we've talked in previous videos, when we've talked this video about creating a calorie deficit, It's being able to stick to that every day. Now, what's the easiest way to stick to this? It's planning ahead. It's keeping things simple. It's not going into days and relying on stupid strategies like willpower or discipline or motivation. You don't need any of those things when you've got a simple plan to stick to. Keeping things as simple and repeatable as possible is the game changer. Actually being willing to improve on variables. So if you are struggling to do 7,000 or 8,000 steps a day, as an example, being able to actually review your day and look at your day and figure out how you're going to be able to increase this. People's dialogue is powerful. We can pull out some cheesy quotes here. There's two types of people, those who say they can't and those who say they can. They're both usually right, and it's true. Your language is everything. So stop being someone who tries and start being someone that simply does. My favorite question to ask my clients is, how are you going to get this done? When are you going to get this done? Figuring out how to solve a problem rather than simply just saying you can't. It's a complete game changer in mindset, and it ends up being a complete game changer when it comes to your outcomes. And this is a powerful one I use with my one-to-one clients, but actually score yourself. Score yourself on your performance. Because as someone who runs an online coaching business that's been going now for 6 years with 2 members of staff, a videographer, over 150 clients in the business, if you were to give me a test right now on being the best online coach in the world, if I scored anything less than 100%, I'd be pissed off. Even if I got a 97% on that score, I would want to know what went wrong. If someone were to give me a test right now on being the best dad, if I were to score anything less than 100% on that test right now, I would be pissed off. So start treating these things with a little bit more importance and actually score yourself. Would you be okay with scoring 50% or 40% or 60% on a test if it was anything to do with your career, if it was anything to do with your ability to parent, if it was anything to do with your ability to do anything that you care about in your life? Because I know I wouldn't. And if you're liking the idea of this review and this audit, then head to the description of this video now and take my quiz and find out if you're full of shit when it comes to wanting to change your life. Because that quiz is going to reveal exactly where you're bullshitting yourself and which excuses are destroying your potential the most. Learn to be a little bit more honest with yourself when it comes to these things, and you're going to be able to audit these things better and get some powerful results in the future. And if you found this video useful, hit like, hit subscribe. There'll be another video coming next week. I'll see you next week.